Tons of people out here in rural Illinois are celebrating the passing of the big beautiful bill, and I just don't understand why. The most obvious one is the Medicare and Medicaid cuts. Your hospitals and the counties are going to close. They rely on funding from those programs in order to keep their doors open and offer the services that they do, and like a quarter of people in Illinois right now are on some form of program through those services. The county hospitals were basically operating on thin margins anyway. The Medicaid funding changes, as well as the SNAP changes, you have the enhanced work requirements, but there's no jobs in these communities. Sort of the adjustments for any barriers based on the unemployment rates of the area, and it doesn't take into account the fact that if there's no jobs to work, what do people do? There's a lot of people in these rural towns that are already driving over an hour each way a day just to go to one of the cities and get jobs. Do you think that they're going to stick around if they have to do that all the time? You would be surprised by the number of people that receive some form of incentive from SNAP, and that includes both on the consumer side and the provider side. And a lot of this stuff is touted as supporting the farmers, but is that real? From my understanding, most farm ownership out here is by out-of-state investors, and I think the biggest landowner in the state is the Mormon Church. A lot of the operations that are on the farmland are leased, and farms aren't taxed in the same way that residential properties are. So most of your local funding is coming from your residential property tax revenue. That money is going to be probably going out of state. It's not going to be impacting your roads, schools, or other services that you're paying all these high taxes for because that happens. The energy cuts, one of the fastest growing job sectors in these areas has been construction related to alternative energy. No longer going to have as many of those projects anymore, effectively cutting jobs in the area, and rural energy prices are already very high and you're just going to pay more. The effective tax rate for this house, which is under $100,000 for market value, is an effective 3% already, slightly more. And based on assessed value, the rating's like 9%. I pay more tax here on this house that you would pay on a home of $600,000 in the Pacific Northwest. The bill talks about manufacturing incentives and opportunity zones, and that's great. You might see some initial investment in the term of, say, renovating buildings, providing beautiful storefronts in your downtown districts of the rural community, but that's not going to do anything to actually keep jobs here. And what is the point in the actual long-term investment of those facilities if there is not going to be people in the area to work those jobs? And for small businesses, you might go, oh, there's a new beautiful storefront, but when you don't have customers, what is your plan to keep your doors open? You have people in exodus of the Midwest rural communities. And a lot of what that has to do with is the lack of service availability, commercial opportunity, employment, and extremely high property taxes. None of those realities are caused by the federal government, which is this bill that you're supporting. It's being caused by your insane property taxes in Illinois. Majority of your farm labor out here is for immigrants, and some of the restaurants around town, which are some of the only options, are operated by immigrants. Immigration largely has been what's been keeping the Midwest afloat, and you want less of that. And there's other things in there like increased health savings account. That's great that you can save money, but when your hospitals are closed, where are you going to use that benefit? I don't see any way that this bill helps revive rural Illinois, and I don't know anything about the surrounding rural states, but I assume it's a similar situation. It certainly doesn't protect the limited services that you already have, and if anything, it kind of removes the funding where people are just cheering against their own interests because they're not thinking about the long-term impacts of some of these decisions. Help make it make sense, but I just don't see it.